October 20th, 1943, Warsaw. At 4 in the morning, Gestapo officers arrived at an apartment on Legionov Street. They were looking for an encoded list, the names and hiding addresses of 2,500 Jewish children placed across the city in convents, orphanages, and private homes. They did not find it. An assistant had moved it minutes before the raid. It would later be buried in a jar beneath an apple tree in a colleague's garden. What they found was the woman who made the list. They arrested her, brought her to Pawiak prison, and began to interrogate her. She told them nothing. This is the story of the Krzyżanowski family of Warsaw, of a doctor and his daughter, and of what that daughter chose to do when the city she loved was dying around her. By autumn 1943, the Warsaw Ghetto no longer existed. Between July and September 1942, German authorities had transported over 265,000 Warsaw Jews to Treblinka killing center. The ghetto uprising of April 1943 was crushed by May. The ghetto was burned and demolished. Thousands of Jews remained hidden on the Aryan side, in apartments, cellars, church buildings. Their survival depended entirely on Poles willing to provide food, documents, and shelter. In German-occupied Poland, helping a Jew carried the death penalty not just for the individual, but for everyone under the same roof. Irena Krzyżanowska was born on February 15, 1910 in Warsaw. Her father, Stanislaw Krzyżanowski, was a physician in Otwock, a small town southeast of the capital. He was known for treating poor patients without charge, including the town's large Jewish community, at a time when many Polish doctors would not. Irena later recalled her father saying that people are divided only into good and bad, never by religion, race, or nationality. Stanislaw Krzyżanowski died in 1917 of typhus, contracted from a patient he had treated. He was 45. Irena was 7. After his death, the Jewish community of Otwock offered to fund her schooling. Her mother accepted. Irena grew up with that debt in her memory. She studied social work at the University of Warsaw and joined the city's social welfare department in 1935, administering aid to poor Polish and Jewish families alike. Germany invaded Poland on September 1, 1939. Warsaw surrendered 27 days later after a siege that killed thousands of civilians. Irena Sendler, she used her married name in her underground work, was 29. She immediately began using her social welfare ID card to create false documentation for Jewish families facing German registration requirements. In autumn 1940, Warsaw's 350,000 Jews were forced into a sealed ghetto covering less than 2% of the city. Irena obtained a German pass permitting her to enter the ghetto as a public health inspector, nominally to monitor typhus. She used it for something else entirely. Working with a network of colleagues, she began moving children out. Infants were sedated and carried in ambulance compartments with false floors. Older children passed through an underground corridor beneath a building that straddled the ghetto wall. Each child received a false Polish name and identity document. Each placement was recorded on a thin strip of paper. Irena kept those strips coded and hidden, first at home, eventually buried underground. By September 1943, when she became head of Żegota's children's section, the only government-sponsored rescue organization in occupied Europe, the network had approximately 2,500 Jewish children in its care across Warsaw. On October 20, 1943, the Gestapo arrived. Irena was tortured during interrogation. Her legs were broken. She was sentenced to death and returned to Pawiak. Żegota learned of the sentence. The organization bribed a guard. On February 20th, 1944, Irena walked out of Paviak. German records listed her as executed. She returned to work under a new identity. Soviet forces entered Warsaw in January 1945. After liberation, Irena and her colleagues dug up the jars and unrolled the strips of paper, attempting to trace each child and find surviving relatives. In nearly every case, there were none. The parents who had handed their children across ghetto walls had died at Treblinka. Some children, now living as Polish Catholics with new names, did not know they were Jewish. Reunification was painful and, for most, impossible. Under Polish post-war communist government, Irena's work was politically inconvenient and officially suppressed. She was not widely recognized until the 1990s and not internationally until 1999, when 3 high school students in Uniontown, Kansas, uncovered a reference to her story and began researching it. Their play brought her global attention. Yad Vashem had recognized her quietly in 1965. She died in Warsaw on May 12, 2008, 98 years old. Irena Sendler's father died treating a patient no one would treat. Her daughter did the same at a scale he could not have imagined. The 2,500 names in those buried jars represent not one act, but thousands of decisions, each made by someone who could have refused, each made under conditions where refusal would have been invisible and rational. Irena herself said she could have done more. That sentence at the end of a long life tells you more about those years than any number could. Ordinary lives, extraordinary times.